Hey everybody, Scott Goldman and Tim Jackson, IndependentTime.com. It's the Watch Geek Time podcast. Hello.
Scott, great to be here again.
Tim, great to have you again. We got so much to talk about today, but quickly, we're going to talk about Lina, we're going to talk about Speak Marin, we're going to talk about Kadoki, we're going to talk about Vianney Halter again, or maybe we're not. We're going to show Vianney?
Sure.
We'll talk about him. We're going to talk about what we're wearing in a second. We're going to talk about Elaine Silverstein, and we're going to talk about Ulysse Nardin and a whole bunch of other goodies today. Everything that you're going to see today, contact Tim if you're interested. He's got this stuff in stock. I think You're ready to go, right?
Well, so, yes, again, some of these pieces are stock pieces, new watches for sale. One of them is a pre-owned piece, and there's a couple of watches that are my personal watches, so... But any questions, fire away, email, Instagram, or phone me.
Well, a personal piece just means I got to pay more, right?
No.
Just curious. All right, so as we often do when we're talking about heritage and horology and all that good stuff, we're going to start off by what we're wearing today, and I'm going to go first. I got a little bit of crap last week for not showing something mechanical. So here's my mechanical Live watch. Let me get us off the screen, and I'm just going to talk about this really quickly. This is a Swiss company. They specialize in watches that are under $2,000. This one's all titanium. I call this a man toy. We got a little schmutzy on there. Oh, my fault. We call this a man toy. Why? It's a chronograph. It's got lots of pushers and buttons. All titanium, black titanium no less, which is not an easy piece business.
Right.
And it's good for diving. It's got a screw down crown. Let's turn this guy around. And I think you and I were trying to determine what movement this was, and we found out it was probably
I think it's a clone of a ETA 7750 is what I believe it is.
There you go. But so we didn't think it was...
Solita probably.
Solita probably. Yeah. Okay, good.
Good solid movement. Yeah.
And it keeps great time, and I love this watch. And I mean, it'll take a real beating. It's my beater.
Right.
Okay. Now, what are you wearing? Because you got something superb on.
Yeah, this is a watch that I think I got this in 2021. So I started talking to this fellow in COVID, spending a lot of time on the computer like all of us, inquiring about watches. And I came across this watchmaker, probably on Instagram, guy called Alexander Nestorenko, and he's from St. Petersburg in Russia. And many people, but not everybody knows, St. Petersburg in Russia is really the cradle of the arts and sciences in Russia.
The only cradle of the arts and sciences,
going
really,
back
right?
a long time. I mean, the name, his name, no name, but he's a watchmaker, young guy, relatively young guy. The name that most people have heard of is Fabergé, Carl Fabergé, who was responsible. He was a jeweler. He was a jeweler to the wealthy and the rich and famous and the Tsars, and created some of the finest jewelry, silver, objet d'art ever, sold in Paris, London. Anyway, so there's an incredible history there of that in that area. So Alexander, this is a watch. It looks like a guilloche dial, and one could argue it as guilloche. It's not technically guilloche because it's not done on a straight line machine.
It's fantastic, though.
It's done on a milling machine, so he's programmed a milling machine. So, arm's distance, it looks great. It's got a lovely look to it. If you look with a loop really close in, it's a little rough because it's not done on a fine cutting tool that you have on a guilloche machine or engine turning. I love the hands on this watch. These, I don't know what you'd call them, but they're...
It's like an extra large Breguet kind of spyglass, I might call it.
Yeah, I've seen a watch called I believe made by Raketa, another Russian-made watch. Anyway, I just love the hands, and I like to support a young up-and-coming watchmaker.
And I know you love those Roman numerals. That's kind of your jive.
Originally, I wanted to get a blue dial, but the blue that he came up with, because he hand paints the dials, was too purple for me. So he hand painted these Roman numerals? No, they're pad printed, but the whole dial was going to be blue, and the blue color that he showed me was too purple for my. I wanted more of a rich royal blue. So I went back to the drawing board and said, well, I like the way it's come out in the brass. Can I just have that color? So we have blue numerals. So that's where we went. We'll flip it over. What's going on in the back is a nicely hand finished. It's not, it's not.
Wow, those barrels look beautiful, don't they?
Yeah, there's some nice hand finishing here. There's a little bit of black polishing.
Some Geneva striping.
Yeah, and get it to sit still.
There you go.
So what this is a Russian, basically a Russian clone of a Cortabert, which is a Swiss-made, originally made movement, probably from the 40s or 50s, probably a pocket watch movement originally. And this was a Russian clone of this. Again, I'm probably going to butcher the name of it, Molyneux. Anyway.
Sounded right to me.
So this is a sort of new old stock caliber that he was able to find when he first started out. Today, I mean, this watch is 4 years old. Today, I don't believe he's using this caliber anymore. So he's using a different caliber in his current watches. But this was a charming watch, and it was not a lot of money. It was under $2,500.
Oh, yes. And it's in the end of the day, it's hand finished and pretty much hand put together.
Yeah, by one guy. I mean, and
that's an incredible price. And I want to make sure that people understand. When we're talking about independent watchmaking, these guys can only make so many watches a year. I don't know what kind of CNC machines this guy even has. He's probably working with a lathe.
No, he's got a lathe. He's got a milling machine.
Right. So he doesn't even have the fancy stuff to make screws. He's doing it all on his own, it seems.
No. Yeah. I mean, he's the base movement are existing, and then he's adapting them and hand finishing the parts, and that's what you get for. But it's a cool watch. It's
a very cool watch, and as far as DNA goes, I mean, I'm assuming that all of his watches have these sort of spyglassy hands.
No, they don't.
Oh, actually,
this particular model, which I don't think he makes anymore, was one of his early models, and so he's, you go onto his website, or I don't know if he has a website, but he certainly has Instagram. Alexander Nestorenko, you'll see in them.
I'll put it in the notes and everything.
Yeah, so that's what I'm wearing.
Cool, that's a great one today. All right, so a couple things. We're going to dive right in because we got so much to talk about, and I know we ran a little long last week, so we're going to try to keep it as quickly and briefly as we can.
All right.
Independent watchmaking is what Tim is all about. He brought me into this world, and he's going to take us all into this world. So every show that we do, we're going to explore more independence. Eventually, we'll have some independent watchmakers on the show with us. We'll get into that in a minute. But let's just dive right into the next watch, which I think is a Laina. Oh, no, you want to do the... Okay, let's do that. So we're going to show you a Silberstein.
Yeah, I mean, we're going a little bit of historical.
Yeah, talk about this guy, because this guy's got to be about 100 years old by now.
Alan, I saw Alan in Switzerland in April. At a guess, he's probably maybe 70.
Incredible.
He was an industrial designer in France, and he came to watchmaking probably in the late 80s. And he applied his design ethos to wristwatches, clocks. And this is called the Chrono with a Krono, Chrono Bauhaus. And this is a black version. It's actually steel with a black PVD. So you can see as I move around, there's a little bit of dust on it. This is one of the oldest watches in my personal collection. This is from 1993. And at the time, I was not really in the watch business so much as I was more in the antique jewelry business. And I saw in a retailer, very famous retailer in San Francisco on Union Street called Paris 1925. I went in there, I would sell them antique jewelry. He was also a used watch dealer, had Pateks, and the fellow that ran it was a fantastic, forward-thinking, actually fifth-generation watchmaker, as it turns out.
Wow.
From
fifth generation?
From Massachusetts, Richard Page.
Oh, okay.
Richard Page started Time Zone.
RP?
Yeah, he started Time Zone.
Oh, I didn't know that about him.
Yep.
Okay.
He started Time Zone. Anyway, in his showcase of lovely vintage watches, they were Pateks, Vacherons, Rolex, was a little small section of about 3 or 4 watches, and these were brand new, and they were Alan Silberstein watches. And I looked at it and I thought, what the heck is that? It's got these crazy colors. It looks complicated, and sure enough, this is a Valjoux 7751. So it's a triple date moon phase with a day-night indicator, and it's a lot going on this dial. But the green hands are the time, the yellow hands are the stopwatch, the chronograph, and you've got this crazy squiggly hand. If I can bring it in, maybe you can bring it in. the squiggly hand. Yeah, there you go. You can see it lying. That's the minute, or that's the second hand for the stopwatch.
That's the second. That's the chronograph.
Yeah. So let's see if we can get it. Yeah, there we go. So that's the stopwatch.
It's wild, isn't it?
So you've got, up at 12, you've got your that's your minute register for the stopwatch, and down at 6 you have your hour register for the stopwatch. So anyway, this is a cool watch.
And the DNA, like, can you turn it sideways so we can see the pushers in the crown? It seems to me that he's always doing this triangular crown thing.
Yeah, that was part of his design.
That's kind of his DNA. It's very difficult to wind, I find, but okay.
Well, so the watch comes with a little plastic tube
that
you stick on it, and it has a triangular fitting on the end so you can wind it easily. But it's one of my favorite watches. I love the colors. I just think it's fun, and
it's fun. Let's see the finish on the back. As you're showing the finish, my dad was one of the first guys I ever saw to have one of these watches, and I thought it was just crazy business.
Mm-hmm.
And he loved it. It was one of his favorites. But what I thought was the most, go ahead, do that. There you go. So look at the finish on that rotor.
Well, yeah, so what's cool is on the rotor, while I'm zooming in, is right above, and I don't have my little pointer with me today, but
let me find you a pen here. Here's a point.
On the rotor, it says 1993.
Here you go.
And that's not quite what I was hoping, but right there, 1993. So that's how you can date these watches. So this is...
that's interesting.
Yeah, okay. And then as we move the watch around, you can see chrono. That's a chrono 2. Automatic value 7751.
Oh, so he actually gives the manufacturer some credit on the movement. That's
and fiercely French. So this was manufactured in France in Besançon. 100 meters water resistance, and then the serial number is up there, 175 of 999. So what that means is theoretically he would have made up to 999 of these in the year of 1993, and I think he made this model for 2 or 3 years.
And there's one on your wrist.
Yeah, that's the watch on the wrist.
That's the watch, yeah. Now, I actually saw this watch, which is very interesting. I of all places, I saw this watch at Feldmar.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember saying to, it was probably Saul at the time, what the hell is that?
Right.
And you know what he said? That's smoke. I don't know what he meant. All right. What do we got next? We're going to move through this as quickly as we can because we got a lot to get through. What's next on our list?
Probably the Finnish master, Torsti Lane.
Oh, you want to go there? Okay, we'll go to Lina. Let me get that.
Lina.
Lina.
As Torsti corrected me the other day when I asked him how his name is pronounced. Most people refer to him as Torsti Lane because they don't know how to pronounce Finnish. But this is his latest model. This is the P37.
What we're looking at here on the so this is just an image, but we'll show you a real watch in a second.
Yeah. So I first came across him now probably 6, 7, 8 years ago. What attracted me to him initially was I saw a picture of a chronograph, which was a Valjoux 23, that he'd built a couple of these, and new case, new dial. It's a lovely vintage movement, but he'd done a lot of hand finishing of the parts, and he did it at a really high degree. Did a little bit of research.
When you say it's a vintage movement,
not
a little more.
Not this watch. Why I came across Torsten.
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay.
So he made a couple of watches. Then I did a little bit of deep dive on him. Figured out he'd won a prize from Langenzone. That every year they give a prize out for beginning or young watchmakers who they think they want to support. And he won that. He earned himself 10,000 euros. And he was able to buy some tooling. And
10,000 euro. He was able to buy some bratwurst, I guess.
Yeah. And so he was off to the races, and he began his company. This watch right here is the latest model. It's called the P37, and the name of this watch comes, and here it is in real life. The name of this watch comes from the fact that it's a Pursue 7001 caliber, which is a manual wind that has been used by many great watchmakers, watch brands over the years. The cool thing about this watch, so 37 refers to the diameter, it's 37 millimeter. The guilloche on that dial, Torsti does the guilloche himself as well. He has a machine.
He has one of these Rose engine machines?
The Rose engine and a straight line machine. Yep. And he does it himself. I've been to his factory and I've seen the machine. And he actually ended up getting this machine from another friend of ours, Josh Shapiro.
Oh, okay.
Josh has many machines.
Josh has a whole atelier full of Rose. I mean, every time he sees a Rose engine, I'll buy it.
Yeah. So Torsti decided he wanted it, because prior to this model, he had a specialist guilloche dial maker, if you will, in Le Loc, the town next door to where he is, who would do his dials for him. And he was like, well, I want to do my own dials. So he went out and bought a machine and taught himself how to do it.
It's incredible because, I mean, I think you and I maybe haven't spoken a lot about it, but this technique, how anybody can figure out how to use one of these machines, because if you screw this up, you got to start over.
Yeah, it's and I've actually sat in Josh's workshop on his Rose engine machine and taken a blank piece of silver and had a go for, I think I sat there for about 20 minutes.
And then ruined it.
Well, no, I mean, to get the pattern, to repeat it,
yeah,
and to get that consistency, it's all done by manually, because you're turning the machine with your left hand, which rotates the disc against the cutting tool. So you're rotating your left hand. And then with your right hand, you're pushing the tool, the sharp tool, against the surface of this rotating disc. So depending on the pressure on your right thumb will determine the depth of the cutting tool.
So the etching is taking place as the dial is turning.
Correct. So the tool that cuts is fixed. It's on a sliding machine, it's on a slide with your thumb.
Yeah.
And the pressure determines the depth of it. So this takes months, probably years, to really get to this level. And Torsti obviously has an aptitude because he's taught himself how to do this.
And is this his design on most watches, or is it just this watch? Is this like his DNA, or what do we know about this?
Well, the design of the watch is his. The dial, this pattern is his design. He came up with his pattern. He's obviously been playing with his machine for a long time.
Sure.
But what's really trick as well, so that, there are a lot of people that use guilloche on the dials. And
yeah.
Not many people do it themselves, so that's a big plus.
Right.
Lovely blued steel hands, which he does. But check this out.
Wow.
Now,
an entire bridge he's done the same way.
Correct. So the barrel bridge on this watch, so the movement is not his, the architecture of the movement comes from a Pursue 7001, which is a lovely, elegant, small manual wind movement. People like Blancpain have used it for many years. Many brands have used it because it's a great movement. But what Torsti's done is...
You need a pointer, right?
Yeah,
Right.
I needed my little thin one, but anyway.
So we'll remember it next week.
Yeah, so we've got the guilloche on the barrel bridge, which is all done by hand. You've got the beautiful finishing on the ratchet wheel and the winding crown, and those underneath there, there's black polish on there, and then there's solar around.
That's fantastic.
And then, what I love about Torsti, and again, as I moved it, so the balance wheel cock and the escape wheel cock are steel, hardened steel, and black polished. And this light is perfect because you can see the black.
Yeah.
As I tilt it away there.
Oh, look at this. Wow.
Black polishing is a dark art in the watchmaking world. And why do I say that? Because the environment that you are black polishing will determine whether or not the steel will take the polish with the polishing compound and typically a tin bar. And if there's too much moisture or not enough moisture in the atmosphere, you can't get a black polish. So I didn't know this until a couple of years ago.
So they have to be concerned with the relative humidity when they're doing this work?
Yes. And
who knew?
Artisan watchmakers typically are not working in an environment like a big manufacturer or a big brand where they have pressure controlled and temperature controlled environments with a positive pressure, so all the dust gets blown out. These guys, the window's open, so crap's flying in through the window.
Sure.
And that means that the relative humidity and so forth is variable. And Torsti was the one that told me. He said, "Yeah, you're black polishing, and some days you're just sitting there polishing backwards and forwards, and it doesn't work."
It's crazy because if you think about it, this is a photograph that I'm going to show.
Yeah.
First of all, by the way, I know we looked at it here, but I love this tremblage underneath the balance wheel too.
Yep. Yeah.
So
Again, a variety of different finishes, all done at very, very high levels, and that's sort of the magic of Torsti.
fantastic.
So that's that watch. We'll move on.
All right, we're moving on. Get another watch.
These two watches are brand new. These are, I've worked with Torsti for a number of years now, 5-6 years, been a representative. So this is another model of his. This is called, let me get that one in there. This is called the V38.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Again, guilloche, 3 types of guilloche on this dial.
Does he? Okay, so I know that a lot of people will shoot for the moon, or what I like to say is Kari Voutilainen.
Mm-hmm.
It seems like he's inspired with the 3 different designs. I mean, it seems to me like this is a Kari thing. It seems to me to go with the 3 different guilloche.
Not necessarily. I mean,
Okay.
Kari does that.
Where does the tradition come from?
Roger
I guess
Smith, it comes from probably English watchmaking.
So it's a George Daniels kind of thing?
Daniel certainly used it, yes.
Okay.
And Roger uses it as well. Roger's dials are the classic, the Series 2, is comprised of 3 layers, if I remember correctly. So you've got the main dial. Typically, you've got the sub-dial for the seconds. And then on the Series 2, you had a little arc for the power reserve. And those 3 sections are silver. They're made separately, guillocheed separately, and then they're welded together to complete the finished dial.
Oh, okay. So it's not like it's 1 dial that's been turned. It's 3 dials that have been put together.
Put together, yes. And I believe on some of Josh's dials, it's the same situation. This actually is a single solid dial, and it's on the same level. And you've got the sections. So they've got the exterior, the center section, and then the sub-dial, and it's 3 different types of guilloche. You can have the same guilloche on all 3 sections if you want, but this is an option that you get to pick. And I selected this watch for stock because I love blue. I like his Breguet numerals; those are applied numerals.
Yeah.
And it's just a lovely watch. And then let's flip it over.
Oh, look at the finish on this. Oh,
so
micro rotor, kill me.
Yeah, so this is a Vaucher base. Vaucher is a movement manufacturer.
Okay.
Associated with Parmigiani, and this is this is a movement that, again, you can go to them and say I want a particular finish on my movement, and this is the Geneva striping.
And they got the Geneva striping. Yeah. They've got the
rose gold. So this is yellow gold plating on, I believe it's a tungsten micro rotor, and then there's anglage on the bevel. So in this bevel around this, the going train around here, there's and again, we may be able to get in there close or not, but that's hand beveled. So the anglage is done by hand, and then there's also perlage behind the micro rotor. And then
so the circular perlage is really quite nice too, because that's not easy. And then there's a nice design on the rotor itself, which I'm guessing is initials or? Yeah,
that's Torsti's design that he gets to request, and then that's put on the.
Well, it's fantastic. And as you've heard me say, well, you haven't heard me say, well, maybe you have. I'm a sucker for a micro rotor.
All right, well, that's a beautiful.
It's like a Patek Philippe move right there to me. The micro rotor.
Yeah, and they do. Yeah, their caliber 240 has a micro rotor. So that's been around for a while. Actually, the interesting micro rotor movement that I think of, that comes to mind anyway for me, is Universal Genève. They came out with one in the 70s.
Were they the ones who? So they developed it. That's their patent.
Well, I have no idea if they patented it. I don't. The history of that I'm not up to speed on, but they certainly developed a movement, or had a movement developed for them, perhaps, and it had a micro rotor in it with some ball bearings, which was, I think, fairly radical at the time. They used it in a variety of watches.
But if you're a fan of Fletch, it's all ball bearings.
Okay, that's you lost me on that.
Brit. Okay.
All right.
I'll clear that up in the credits.
All right, on to the next one.
On to the next one.
Where are we going next?
I think we're going to go with Kadoki.
Yes. So we touched on Kadoki last week. My own personal Kadoki 1. Today I have a piece with me that is not my. This is a stock piece. This is a Kadoka 2, and this is an execution of this watch, which I happen to like. I saw this color in Geneva, I think 2 years ago now, maybe on this watch or on a Kadoka 1 as a prototype. And I thought, wow, that's a good looking watch.
It's fantastic.
So without further ado, let's throw this up.
I mean, it's just, first of all, we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about what's going on here.
Zoom out a bit.
Yeah.
So this is the frosted dial with a yellow gold plating on it, and with a lovely, and this model actually probably got Stefan on the map more so than the watch that I own, because it has this complication at 12 o'clock, which is a day-night indicator. It's not a GMT. It's fixed to the pinion of the hour. So as the hour hand rotates once every 12 hours, that disc rotates once every 24 hours. So it's a day-night or a 24-hour dial. And you can see right now on that little dial at about 4 o'clock is a little triangle in the silver area. It's a rose gold triangle.
In here?
Yeah, down, yeah. So again, I'll
use the pointer. Yeah.
So it sits right about... And this point is way too.
Oh, I can see it.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah, I can see
triangle. So that's pointing to what would be probably 10 o'clock in the morning, because look, the hour hand is at 1:15.
Oh my God, that's the coolest thing ever.
And the sun is coming out. So noon, the sun is right at the top.
Right at the top, yeah.
And conversely, midnight, the sun is at the bottom, and that little triangular pointer will be up at the top.
So
it's hand engraved,
and it's up. You can see the 24-hour scale around it.
Yeah. I mean, we're zooming in here.
Yeah.
But that's a 24-hour scale, so it tells you what the hour is. As I say, it's a day-night indicator.
Amazing.
Whimsical. Is it? It would be really tricky if it was. If you could adjust that to a second time zone. But that's not the point of this complication. But I was thinking the same thing as soon as I saw the 24-hour track. I'm like, well, if that could be adjusted independently, now you got a GMT. But I don't think that was his. No, not his idea. Yeah. But the original watch came with a silver dial, and I've sold a couple of different variations. Blue, they did a limited edition with a gray dial called the Nocturne. That was I think 20 pieces several years ago, and I've had the silver one in stock. I've had blue, black, and this was the next one I liked. It's sort of reminiscent of English pocket watches from a while ago, and it's a really good watch. So I love the watch. I know you've already heard me make the comment about his name being at the bottom. It's there for balance. I get it. I'm not crazy about it, but it's the one part about the watch aesthetically that I'm not crazy about. Mm-hmm. His name down there. But let's see the finish on the back, because again, so this is sort of his DNA, what he's got going on again with that balance cock, as we saw last week's show. Hand engraved. This is identical to the watch, the movements in my watch. Right. So this is his base, and this is the movement that carries through the Kadoka 3, Kadoka 4, Kadoka 5, which is coming out in due course. So that's what this watch is. This is a lovely piece, and yeah. Oh, it's fantastic. And I like the fact he's consistent with his hands. Yeah. He's consistent with the balance cock. I'm big on DNA, as I know that watch collectors usually are, because I want to see something the same. Go ahead. So the hour hand is the infinity. Let me get us off of here. Go ahead. Yeah, you can, maybe I can zoom in. The hour hand is that infinity symbol. Which is emblematic of all of his all of his hour hands. Yeah, and he's a thoughtful fellow. Some part of I think there's a philosopher in there somewhere. Interesting. Now, just a question. Yeah. What would you describe that minute hand? Is that like a Dauphine? What would you call this hand with this sort of pinch in the middle? Does it have a specific name? No, I don't have a specific name for that. Okay. I don't think I do. I like it. It's just part of his DNA. Yeah. Okay. And again, tiny little Romans around the outside, which appeal to me. Yeah, I like the track around the outside. All right, do we have another? So that's it for Kadoka today. I have a Kadoka 3 coming, and had I been more skilled, I would have sent you a picture of it. It's got a salmon dial, and it's a fun watch, but we'll talk about that. Yeah, you'll bring it next week. Yeah. Okay. What's next? Well, you tell me. Why don't we go to Nardin? Okay, so this is I have a bit of history with this company, this brand. This is a personal watch of mine, and I brought it because I think it ties in with again. There's a theme certainly in my collecting, but also what got me interested in the independents initially, and that was, if you remember last week, talked about it was Peter Speak Marin, and the use of enamel dials. Mm-hmm. So I'm bringing that up because I was made aware of enamel dials, working in the industry, working with big brands. And one of the brands that utilized a lot of enamel dials in their watches was this company, Ulysse Nardin, famous Swiss brand that's been around since 1846.
And let me just say, famous for chronometers.
Yeah, so
marine chronometers.
Exactly. They were one of the few Swiss companies that made marine chronometers. Marine chronometers are definitely worth talking about, not right now because we've got a lot of stuff to talk about, but another show.
We should definitely break into why it's important, because this watch and a lot of their watches follow that sort of marine chronometer tradition. So.
And so much so that this watch is called the 1846 marine chronometer.
There you go.
And a marine chronometer actually is, so the term chronometer, we may have to define that as well, because sometimes that gets mixed up with chronograph. Chronograph is a stopwatch. Chronometer is a precise time measuring machine, either a wristwatch or a clock. And a marine chronometer has to be within a certain tolerance. And I believe it's somewhere around half a second a day, get plus or minus. And why is that important? Well, when you're traveling across the world, you need to know before GPS how long it takes to get from A to B, and then you can figure out your longitude.
So I think one show we'll dedicate a little bit of time to Harrison.
Yep.
We'll talk about him. Let's look at the finish on the back. But just, again, exactly what Tim just said. If you were off by a few seconds, you ran aground.
Yeah, or you just didn't show up.
You just didn't show up. And then your entire load on your ship was gone because you cracked into a rock and because you didn't make the right turn at the right time. Right. And again, marine chronometer, there's always this power reserve, which is hugely important.
Yep.
And does this one go zero? Start full boat is a zero going the other way? I don't know if this is.
So when it's empty, it says down, which is correct. Right now, I haven't wound it. Sub-second. So this is an automatic watch, but the clocks, the marine chronometer clocks, were manual ones.
You needed a key, and you.
Yeah, and you obviously needed a power reserve because you could not let it run down.
No, and it was only one guy who was in charge of it.
Yeah.
And he also had a deck clock, a clock that he wore around his neck.
Like a watch. Yep.
That he would then take into the deck house, and if there was a setting change, he would line it up and then come back and set the clock on the boat.
Yeah.
So
this is a direct copy, if you will, inspired by the dials of the classic marine chronometers. Now they put in red here 1846, which is when the company was founded. In the actual marine chronometers, that would be where the serial number of the watch would be. Of the clock.
Of the clock, yeah.
So now this is what's interesting about this watch, and you'll see on the back.
And by the way, just audience, it's a little bit smaller than it might appear because it's a classic 38.
Yeah. So this was made for their 150th anniversary, so 1996, this watch. Solid back. Back then, there were not a lot of exhibition backs in watches. That sort of started fairly soon after this. This watch is, it's got a screw-down crown, so it's water-resistant to 200 meters, I believe. I think it says on the back.
Yeah.
Yep, 200 meters. But what appealed to me was the fact that this, unlike the standard issue marine chronometer model from Ulysse Nardin, which had you could get a silver dial, you get a white dial, which is lacquer. This is actually an enamel dial. This is fired in a kiln. And the difference being between this watch and the standard issue is that the standard issue watch has a date at 6 o'clock. So you can tell by looking at these marine chronometers, if they don't have the date at 6 in these watches, in the 38 millimeter, that means they're an enamel dial. So this was made for the 150th anniversary. And the reason I brought it today is this is illustrative of why I probably will never work with big brands again. And why do I say that? So back then, the owners of the company was Rolf Schneider, and he decided they wanted to celebrate their anniversary great thing to do. So they created several anniversary watches, one of which was this model. So the watch was made in a series of 150 pieces in rose gold, 150 in yellow, 150 in white gold. And then I believe there were about 3 or 4 made in platinum.
But they were all the same with this fluted bezel and the
Correct.
whole...
The identical dial, identical case, just different material.
different material, okay.
Yeah. And they were serial numbered on the side of the case.
Which is typical of UN.
Yeah, which would be right here. We'll just zoom in. And so that little plaque on the side of the case would have the serial number, and it would have the serial number with a slash mark and then 150. Well, when you look at this, what does it say?
12.
It says UN U.N.N-12. So I went to the president of the US because I was a Ulysse Nardin dealer at the time, and I said, so I thought these were all made an edition of 150 of each gold metal color. And he said, yeah, they were. I said, well, so why does mine have UN 12 on it, not 12/150? He said, let me get back to you. So sure enough, I waited. About a week later, I get an email back from him. And he said, yeah, so Rolf decided to make another 100 for his friends.
Oh.
Right. Now.
So does that mean you're friend number 12 on the list? But is that... is there a hierarchy of friendship?
I didn't buy the watch directly from Ulysse Nardin.
Oh, there you go.
I got it in a trade with a client, and I'd actually had the platinum version for about a week, but then a client saw it on my wrist and fell in love with it and had to buy it. So he got that watch. So when I found this one, I grabbed it because it's lovely. It's rose gold, my favorite color of gold. So what did that tell me? What it told me was that, and this is not atypical, certainly not back then, these companies, these brands, were able to, let's say, break the series of limited editions. So if you were a client that bought one of the limited editions in 150 in rose gold, you expect there to be 149 other watches like yours, perhaps. What you don't expect is for another 100 watches to be made.
No, because then it's not really a limited edition anymore.
Right.
Because milsimation is pretty important in the world of LTD, right? So
my point exactly.
Yeah.
And that's, these were the sort of nails in the coffin, if you will, that turned me away from working with a lot of the big brands.
Oh, that's very interesting. Okay.
Because Ulysse Nardin was certainly not, it wasn't unique to them. And I'm a big fan of UN. I love Rolf. He sadly passed away a number of years ago. But this was his company. He could do whatever he wants. That's his.
But Eschlin's the real genius there, right? I mean,
well, he worked on some of the incredible,
like the Freak and some
the
other
perpetual calendar, the astronomical watches, the astrolabium, the tellurium, and the planetarium. Those watches to me are off the chain.
The planetarium is so off the chain, and that three series, that triptych series, truly magnificent. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean they're amazing. So
but you've gone south on them because they turned themselves into a big brand, I guess.
Yeah, they've changed, and things evolve. That's fine.
Sure.
But this to me, when Rolf was steering this company, they really had some extraordinary watches and innovations, and they were doing magical stuff. I didn't love all their watches, quite frankly. They came out with a watch called a Quadrato, which I hated. I told Rolf that in Basel one year.
You just came out and told him, I don't like this.
Well, he showed it to me, and he said, what do you think of this? And it was a perpetual calendar, and I said, I don't like it.
Yeah.
He said, well, let me get it. So he grabbed another version of the same watch, different case, different dial color. I was like, sorry, it's not.
Still not.
No. And he came up to me later that evening at a Ulysse Nardin event, and he said, you know what, you're wrong. You need to, you need to sell these. And
you're wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He said, you got to love this because you got to sell them. I said, Rolf, I don't have to love everything. I said, I love a lot of what you make, but I'm not going to love everything. And guess what?
Guy.
I'd be disingenuous if I thought every watch you made was a winner, because they're not.
No, I remember at Basel one year, you and I saw the deck watch with that retrograde thing going like this, and all the cables and everything inside of it.
technically cool, but
And I said, wow, that's the coolest thing I ever saw. And you went,
aesthetically, no, just didn't do it. The perpetual calendar from Ulysse Nardin, to my mind, is still one of the best perpetual calendars on the market, period, end of story. And the guy that developed it is Ludwig Oxlin. And he is a genius because prior to that watch, and I'm pretty sure this is correct, all perpetual calendars use springs and levers to operate the various different indications of month, date, day. The thing with that is that when you have a spring and a lever, once that gear has gone clunk, you can't go back.
right, if you adjust a perpetual calendar backwards, you're screwed.
Well, up until the Ulysse Nardin.
They figured it out.
Why? Because what Ludwig did is he figured out the typical perpetual calendar program wheel has 48 teeth around it for the 4-year cycle, because the leap year in February goes 29 as opposed to 28. So that tooth in the wheel, there's a cam that drops down into 29.
Right.
It can never go back to 28. So
right, you'll break that lever off if you come back. Yeah.
So what Ludwig figured out was, instead of having that one wheel, he figured out his program wheel has 9 separate gears in it, and he figured out the mathematics on the gearing, so that and it's because it's gears, they mesh forward and backwards, so you can go backwards.
So why the 9? What was the 9?
This is 9 different wheels inside one. So instead of having one.
So
wheel,
the module is 9 wheels. The perpetual calendar.
It's not a module. It's an integrated movement. But instead of having one program wheel where a cam goes around the 48 teeth, he has a program wheel, but inside it has 9 separate wheels. They're gears. They're all gears. They're like and I've seen the blueprint of it. How he came up with this in his mind to start with is genius. That's the genius of Ludwig.
Because usually when you or a watchmaker describes something to me, I can visualize it. This I can't.
You need a picture. I couldn't visualize it until I saw a blueprint, and it's on. Ulysse Nardin used to have it on their website. I don't know if they still do. And they had printouts of it in magazines and in their promo information.
And how they did it. Well, that was nice for them to be transparent. That's unusual.
No, it was genius, and that was the brilliance of that, and is the brilliance of that perpetual calendar module. And I do believe since then there are some watchmakers that have figured out other ways of doing it where you can move forward and backwards.
Right. I know that the Jaeger-LeCoultre watches can go backwards and forwards now, so maybe they pulled that trick out of their hat. I can tell you that. Well, I love the brand. So, I mean, the brand is, we know we love the brand, but I mean, if they become a big joke, then, I mean, it's a big joke. If they become a big brand, then they're not playing along with how we feel anymore. Why don't we go to this one?
Okay. So
that kind of follows along, because I think that these, so.
Good segue, Scott.
Yeah,
well played.
Thank you.
I've done this before.
I know a few things about a few things. So this is a watch. Now this is sort of their pet project. What we're about to see, the MIH.
Well, yeah. So I know a little bit of background on this story, but it ties in because this is a watch that was developed by Ludwig Oxlin, and so this watch is called the MIH watch. It's the original watch that Ludwig.
And what does MIH mean, Tim?
Stands for the Museum of International Horology.
There you go.
In Le Chaux de Fonds in Switzerland. And so Ludwig, being Ludwig, he was the curator of the museum for a while. And under his steerage, if you will, of the museum, he decided, well, how do we get more people to even pay attention? Mm-hmm. So, well, maybe I'll develop a watch and we'll sell it under the museum's brand name. He was also encouraged by a fellow that worked at Embassy in Lucerne. And he sort of helped Ludwig with the idea that he thought that, we can sell it for you. So Embassy in Lucerne was the sort of official retailer, if you will. So what Ludwig did, and together with another brilliant watchmaker, Paul Gerber, they got together and they designed this watch. And this was kind of it was a real cult watch. It was developed in 2005, I believe.
Is it a perpetual calendar or
no.
what?
So what this is, it's an annual calendar.
Annual calendar.
So again, Ludwig, playing off one of Ludwig's genius ideas is how to simplify, from an engineering standpoint, watchmaking challenges that watchmakers have had for a long time. And so if he figures out, if I can make it more simple, less parts, it's probably going to work more efficiently, doesn't need as much power, and less things to go wrong.
Sure.
So this watch has an annual calendar. So an annual calendar means it knows the number of days in a month.
It needs one adjustment a year.
Correct.
On March 1st.
April, yeah, exactly. April 28th to 29th in a leap year. That's the...
No, February.
February, sorry, what am I talking about?
Yeah. April has 30 days. We know that.
So February 28th, 29th. So it knows the number of days in each month.
Except for February.
Correct. And that it knows them normally, and then you have to adjust on the end of February.
So this brings up a really interesting thing. I just want to say quickly.
And there's only 9 parts in that annual calendar.
Yeah, which is amazing to me. But again, it seems like the money for a perpetual calendar is kind of silly, because the perpetual calendar really reveals its complication every 4 years.
Correct.
Or once a year on the 28th, because it knows to go from the 28th to March 1st. Fine.
Correct.
Rather have an annual calendar that I adjust once a year.
Well, yeah, it's a more simplified watch, if you will.
It's a KISS principle. Let's see the back of this beauty.
So, and what's cool also is you'll notice the 2 dots.
Yeah.
Red dots. So that's an AM PM indicator. So this is showing right now as 4:45 in the afternoon.
So 1 dot is AM and 2 dots is PM.
Correct. Yeah. And that's part of that disc rotates, and the day of the week. So this is showing Saturday, May the 31st. This is probably the last time I wore this watch, and it stopped at 4:45. It is also a stopwatch. It's a chronograph. And
a single pusher at that.
Yeah, so it's a mono pusher. It's also a titanium case.
Wow.
And guess what this watch sold for back then?
It was cheap. It was like $4,000, I think.
5,000 Swiss for a titanium mono pusher chronograph with an annual calendar.
It's unheard of.
Yeah, I mean, this watch they could have easily sold it for $8,000-9,000.
10 grand.
Yeah, people would have jumped at it then.
And now, if you try to find one, you're into probably a lot more, or you can still get these.
They're long sold out.
Okay.
The screw back, and then what's kind of trick, and again, we might have to zoom in here.
What? So yeah, tell us what they've done here, because this is really
so
cool.
You're seeing the rotor right there, but also behind it, there's a little black disc with white numbers and a red triangle. So that is your 30-minute counter for the stopwatch. So on the front, you've got your second hand, which right now is just past 12. Probably didn't.
And every time it makes its way around 30 times, it notches this?
Well, each minute.
Each minute, but this is for 30 minutes, though.
Yeah, you get a 30-minute count on the back. Practical? No.
Not at all.
But, if you want to time something, you can do it.
Right, and practical, but, I like to call this kind of stuff a man toy.
Yeah.
To me, this is like, which is what men like, little toys, and there's little surprises on the back that's not for everybody to see, but not practical at all.
Screw down crown.
Yeah.
I think had good water resistance. This watch, back then you sent them an email, they acknowledged it and said, yeah, you've ordered the watch, and I waited a year for this watch. They made about 100 watches a year. Paul Gerber did the assembly, and he did the design of the chronograph. Ludwig did the design of the annual calendar, and a fellow by the name of Christian Gaffner, who's again an industrial designer in Switzerland, designed the case, the hands, and the look of the watch. And it's an inline annual calendar, so you have 3 discs. You have the day of the week that's attached to the dots. You have the month, and then you have the date on the outside. So it's
which is exactly how you would read the date.
Yeah.
Sunday, May 31st.
Yeah. Cool watch.
Gerber's the guy who did the tri-rotor watch. Am I correct?
Correct. Amongst other things, yes. Yeah. Paul Gerber's he's an AHCI early watchmaker from the AHCI. He's another one of these guys who's in the background, has done a lot of development of amazing complications for watch brands over the years, and he's made a few watches himself.
And doesn't really speak a word of English, is my understanding.
He does a little English, but it's not. Yeah, Swiss German is his main language. So where do we go from here?
We'll go to Speak. Let's talk about.
Okay, back to Speak Marin.
Let's talk about this guy.
Back to the beginning. So this watch, this is not my watch.
No, this is my watch.
Yeah.
And what's special about this is I got it from my buddy.
Yep, this is way back when.
This is an OG.
Yeah. So this is the.
Tell us about this. Is just stunning, isn't it? Wow.
So this is a Piccadilly Speak Marin. So this is the watch that I showed last week was 38 millimeter, which is the original case design, and at the time This was in about 2004, probably 2005. Peter was asked for a bigger case diameter watch, so he designed the second version of the Piccadilly in a 42 millimeter case, and it has the same lugs with those screws that hold in the spring bar. Well, not even spring bar; it's a solid steel.
It's a
bar.
solid, yeah.
Yeah.
My watch is a little bit messy. Sorry, folks.
Enamel dial, and what's interesting about this dial, so compared to my watch, which has the white enamel dial, this is slightly subtle. This has the cream Roman dial.
It's so gorgeous.
Yeah, stainless steel case, and it's exquisite. The blued steel hands, has that screw in the dial, the aesthetic placing of the
Yeah, and then
we flip it over, and again, here's the steel back and the rotor in the shape of a topping tool.
Classic rotor, and this is a rhodium.
Yes, this is the rhodium plated automatic bridge that is behind it. Now I have another watch here which has a different color bridge. We'll just move that over. So this is a watch which I did not bring last week. This is a piece that I have. This is a pre-owned watch. I sold it brand new. It came back to me. I ended up buying it back from the client, and it's a lovely, this is the original 38 millimeter in rose gold, but what we have here is a white enamel, but in the beautiful Breguet numerals.
Well, yeah, with the Arabic numbers.
Yeah.
So
elegant, and this was a watch that I think I sold in 2006 or 7.
I want to just talk a little bit about DNA. Drag the other one in, because I just want to make sure that our watchers understand that watches of this nature always have a certain DNA about them. Like, I'm just going to point a few items out, like the crown, for example, or the lugs, or the hands, or what you can't see on the gold watch is the screw at 6. So Peter really defined his brand quite nicely, and in a very important way, because I think watch collectors expect a consistency throughout the brand. I can hold a Jaeger-LeCoultre Duomet, and I can take an Extreme, put them next to each other, and show you very clearly the DNA is throughout the entire line of watches. Now, I would argue that UN doesn't necessarily hold true to that all the time.
No, it doesn't.
Right?
I think UN has sort of families of watches, or at least certainly had families of watches, which were almost diametrically opposed in terms of design, and I think that was probably one of the critiques of UN as a brand that I certainly had. I didn't love all their watches, clearly, and I told Rolf that, as I said, but I did love many of their designs. Peter, this is one of the, and I talked about this last week, one of Peter's geniuses, and these artisanal watchmakers that I love to sort of champion, and I have done, is that they have the aesthetic understanding and the mechanical understanding, and they have those both skill sets, and that's borne out in the finished product, which is a watch which you love because you like the look of it, and then the flip side or the back side often has a beautiful movement that you appreciate from an engineering standpoint, and then there's finishing and all that good stuff. But it's that rare blend of both, and that's what you get with an independent watchmaker. I'm not talking about an independent brand. That's a collaborative effort. Nothing wrong with it, but there's a differentiation to be made. I think it's important, and I found that collectors for years now, going back 20 years at this point, appreciate that when they're looking at a watchmaker's work. Is they see his DNA, if you will, his design ethos in the watch, and that's important.
Well, I think this is particularly British. I mean, if you look at things, you can see there are British components here as opposed to Saxon watchmaking or Swiss watchmaking or Japanese watchmaking.
Yep.
But they're both, it's fantastic. I mean, I love Peter, and I love the work he's done. And it's, of course, you and I don't remember the exact moment, but it's where we met. It was at a table where Jeff Kingston was
13 or 14 years ago.
It's more like 16, I think, it feels like.
Really? Okay.
Time flies, man.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think, does that do it for the watches we have in hand? Because I do have some watches that you sent me some photos of.
Yep.
which we can certainly talk a little bit about.
Yeah, so there are a couple
Let me
of
get to this.
watchmakers, if you will, that.
So why don't we? I tell you what. Let's talk about Keaton for a second.
Yeah, we'll deep dive. If not deep dive, we'll touch on. So, as is my, I don't know. This is what I do.
Yeah.
I'm always interested in finding, helping, promoting, championing, if you will, these artisanal watchmakers. And America is my adopted country, and there are not many people doing great watchmaking in this country.
Not at this level.
Yeah. And I came across Keaton in probably 2012, I think, again on Instagram, and I was curious about this fellow up in Oregon. Who is this guy? Never heard of him. Did a little bit of research. He had a pretty decent website. But what struck me was, and he had a picture of his prototype watch, not the school watch. He'd done a school watch, but then he had a prototype watch, and he had it made. It was running, and he showed in quite good detail pictures of his own balance wheel. Now, why is that important? Well, the balance wheel is the single part in a wristwatch, pocket watch, if you will, that determines how well it's going to keep time. And at the end of the day, these things are here to keep time. That's why we have wristwatches or pocket watches. So that balance wheel you see there in that close-up, this is one of Keaton's pictures, I believe. Mm-hmm. This is his own balance wheel. He developed his own balance wheel. He also takes a hairspring and he vibrates the hairspring and bends it to the correct shape. And I believe it's got a Phillips terminal curve on the end. And there's gold, you can actually see in this picture, there's 4 gold weights around the exterior. Yeah, there's one right there. And there's 4 of them. Yeah, thank you. That one's hidden.
No, it's behind the third wheel there.
And there's another one right there.
Yeah.
So those are the weights that help regulate to balance the balance wheel. It's a free sprung balance wheel. And what that means is that you really have to know your stuff in terms of being a watchmaker.
We're not going to
engineering.
Yeah, total engineering. Yeah. So we're going to talk about, we'll get into the real heavy specifics about free sprung and brigade curving and all that on another show. But just to give Keaton some due, just this bridge for the balance wheel.
Right.
Just tell me about that.
So that's
a black polish, right?
It's black polish, okay. And you can sort of, on the right-hand side, the lower part, you can see that's where it's looking black because it's black polish. It's black polished steel. This bridge is reminiscent of tourbillon bridges from classic pocket watches from probably 100 years ago. You can probably find Patek and Vacheron pocket watches. Keaton liked the style of that, and so that's what he came up with in his design. And this is all done. That's a different.
Yeah, it's a different watch. Sorry.
So I reached out to him, and I wanted to know more. I said this was 2011, 2012, and we started talking. And I said, what are your plans? He said, well, I'd like to make a series of these watches. I'd like to make 30 watches. And I said, well, what are you trying to sell them for? How long are they going to take to make? And blah blah blah, all that stuff. Anyway, we went backwards and forwards. A couple of conversations. I said, I'm going to be going to Basel, and I think, and he's like, oh yeah, I've heard that's a really good show.
No,
I said, yeah,
you heard.
It'd be a great thing for you to do, to go and see the industry, and I'm happy to introduce you to some of these amazing artisanal watchmakers. So he's like, yeah, I think I'm going to do that. So we made plans to meet in Basel. Before Basel, a couple of weeks before, and I knew he'd be bringing his prototype, I suddenly thought, you know what? He's going to go there. He's going to bump into some collectors, potentially. They're going to look at what he's wearing, find out that he's an American watchmaker, and his serial number 1 would probably sell. So I was like...
Even as an American, they weren't going to shun him. I thought they were going to go, oh, you're an American,
I don't think so,
get
because
out of
the number of collectors that I know that went to that show, and again, maybe this was my ego kicking in. I was like, you know what? I think I need to commit to buying his first watch. So I did. I called him up and said, hey, let me know what you want for a deposit. I want to buy your first, serial number 1. I'd like to have that watch. I want to support you. But also in the back of my mind, there was that aspect of I'll only get one shot at getting a number 1. And so that's why I committed to that watch, sent him some money, and we met a couple of weeks later in Basel, and he showed me the prototype. I mean, I shook his hand, grabbed his left wrist where he's wearing his prototype, said, "Can I see the watch?" Because I'd committed to, again, a no-name guy, and I wanted to make sure that from the pictures and what I understood to be...
It was the real deal, yeah.
And, grabbed my loop, looked at the prototype, flipped it over, looked at the movement, and went, breathed a sort of sigh of relief and said, okay, he's the real deal.
Oh, he is the real deal. And he's just an amazing guy.
Yeah.
I just wanted to point a few things out. I hope you can see this here. It doesn't say American made or Swiss made. It says hand made, which is, so I love the fact that Keaton makes no secret he's very inspired by Kari Voutilainen. He's told me that's what he's shooting for, and I think he's getting there.
Yeah, well, and so this is this watch.
This is an early watch of his.
Well, this is his first watch that he made in the series of the 1 in 30 series, and back then, you got what you got. The design was the design. I love the hands; they're blued steel, very sort of architectural, sculptural.
I love the screws on the minute track.
Yeah. And then the individual minutes are with a drill press, if you will.
Yeah, he's like pressed into the steel there.
Yeah, and it's high polished. And I picked the blued screws for 12, 3, 6, and 9. Now they're going back
to that.
Yeah, you can't see the 9 because it's hidden.
Yeah, we'll just hide. We'll go through.
I could have picked more. I could have picked individual. Every hour could have been blued, but I thought that'd be too much. And then, for me, the masterpiece of this watch is not the front. Quite frankly, it's the back. It's this movement, and this, the architecture. Again, like many people, he wasn't up to developing his own movement from scratch. So he took the architecture of the Unitas 6497 and remade the parts to his specifications, and the finishing is spectacular for first out of the gate, and I'm thrilled with it. The case in this particular watch was an off-the-shelf case from a German company called Fricker that many watch companies, brands, watchmakers have used. Again, he wasn't up to developing his case at the time, so he just found a really well-made case from a German company and popped his own movement, hands, dial into the case and a crown.
And now is he doing everything, or is he still getting the case out?
No. So since this watch, this watch I received, I think in 2013 probably now. He now has developed his own case. He's designed his own case. He makes his own case. And it's a small, this was 42 millimeters. I think it's 40.5 mil, his own case. So my watch, the reason I don't have it here to show you is it's back there with Keaton because it's going to get recased in his.
Oh, that's right. So so that'll only take him about 2 years.
Well, no, it'll be less.
Because it's you, maybe a year.
And also he's elevated his dial game dramatically. So he also has his own guilloche machine.
But you told me the other day he's not taking any orders. Like we got a friend of mine, a Keaton. And it was I thought was so cool is that Keaton went back and forth with Keith for a good 2 or 3 weeks before they really settled on what it was.
Yeah. So each of his watches,
they're like a one-off. I mean, they're definitely piece unique. So
yeah. And I believe the 1 in 30 series is finished. He did not make all 30 pieces. He's got another project in mind, and so that's where he's going with it.
Is he going to tourbillon? He's going to do some tourbillon work? Or?
I don't know. I'm not at liberty to
talk about it. I know he's got a buddy named Ed who's quite the long and Sona collector.
He's got a
good patron in Ed. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, very much so. Super nice guy. But Keaton's doing some extraordinary work.
No question.
And he's on his own in Oregon, his workshop, and that's the name.
Is he still in Sisters?
No, he's
to Bend. He go to Bend.
He's in Bend. Yeah, he's got a workshop in Bend now. He was in Sisters for a long time.
He's a great guy, and I always tease him. If he wasn't a watchmaker, he'd be a golfer, because it seems to me that's a golfer's name right there.
Or he'd be a musician. He's actually
he plays guitar, doesn't he?
He was going to go to Juilliard school, and it was either that or go to watchmaking school.
Well, we were supposed to jam, but it never happened. All right, let's talk about this guy.
So this is
GOS, right?
GOS. This is a watchmaker from a Swedish watchmaker who lives and works in Linköping in Sweden. Patrick Sjögren is the S of GOS, and he started this company many years ago now. I've been aware of him for probably 12, 15 years. And he has a Viking spirit, and you can see it in this watch. So this watch here...
What do you want to bring up first?
So...
should we talk about this first?
Yeah, this is what's called the Sarek Frost.
Okay.
This is a model that came out a couple of years ago. It's his entry-level watch, if you will. And Patrick has always had a Swedish master bladesmith working with him to basically supply him with Damascus steel parts.
So just real quick, Damascus is a specific process where they forge blades, and what they usually do is they'll take a bunch of very high-end stainless steel, pound it down, cool it, put another layer on it, pound it down, cool it, and that's what causes the literally lines and discolorations in the blade, hardens the blade.
Yep.
And there's no two alike.
Correct.
Did I do a pretty good job?
Yeah, no, that's great.
Okay.
So the original bladesmith is no longer with the company. His last name was Gustafsson, I believe. So he parted ways. So now he uses another master bladesmith, a Swedish fellow that lives up in Sweden. And yeah, so this is an example.
Oof.
Yeah, this is an example.
And I bring this up, I get a little chill.
This is the latest model. This is a Filero sword. So there's a sword, a Viking sword that was found partially buried, and it's several thousand years old. And the pattern of the Damascus steel is clear to see today. So they've tried to replicate that pattern. And this is a dial that's been blued, in effect, with its chemical and heat that Patrick does. But he's worked with Connie to produce essentially a billet, a tube of Damascus steel, which he then slices into discs to make dials. And
how does he slice it? With what? With like a cutter?
Yeah, very sharp tool. Very,
But then he has to finish it right after.
Yeah. So there's three versions of this dial. So you can have the plain Damascus, which I don't think I have sent you a picture of. This is
Let's
the
see what we
one.
got.
Yeah, there's a plain one. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's the untreated.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and then you can have a bluing, or you can have what he calls like a fire steel. So the steel that's sitting in the kiln, it has a sort of red coppery color to it.
And then of course we'll just this is the Frost.
Yeah, so this is the Sarek Frost, which is the first watch, which has either a blue or a gray dial, and it's again a sort of whimsical look on the dial side, because when Patrick was a kid, growing up in Sweden, they go up in the cabins in the mountains, or not the mountains, but further north in the winter, and as the morning sun would wake him up, around the edge of the windows you'd have the frost from the night, and it would start to melt. And so if you look at the dial side of this watch, around the edge you have these tiny little, if you can zoom in, you'll see the frost around the edge of the dial.
So this stuff right here, these like starry things.
Yep. Yeah, close up, it's that little tiny dots.
I'm having a hard time pointing.
Yeah, that's right. So that was that was the inspiration. So this watch here shows it does have a Damascus steel bezel, but you don't have to have Damascus steel on it. You can get it just standard steel.
Yeah, but why would you?
Yeah, it's cool.
And I like the Viking thing about
the Viking tradition of using Damascus steel in their tools was why they were so brilliant at what they did, which was going around and killing and
pillaging and marauding and.
But the bladesmiths are amazing. So that's this watch. So Patrick is, a lovely fellow. Like I say, I've known him for a long time. I actually visited him in Sweden, in Linköping, in his workshop a year and a half ago, and he was kind enough to host me. And this watch actually was not hadn't been released by then.
This particular piece?
No, this model was not. This subsequently he released.
I think I told you the other day, as you were sending me this stuff to prep for the show, I saw the guy at Basel Fair just sitting out in the lobby somewhere with a couple of watches, and I just walked over and went, well, that's really cool. And he said, I wish more people did, but now he's caught on. I think it takes
time.
Because it's an acquired taste.
Yeah, so these watches, not everybody's going to love a watch that looks like this. I think the Sarek Frost would perhaps appeal to more people, but certainly people that understand metalsmithing and can appreciate the artistry in this are going to love this. It's really special stuff.
Really great. I think this is the last one we have for today.
Let's move on.
Let's talk a little bit about these guys, because this is the first time I've seen this, Tim, and I'm just damn impressed by the cleanness of this particular brand.
So again, and you use the term brand, I use the term watchmaker.
Thank you. Let's do that.
Yeah. So this is a one guy.
Okay.
It's Nicholas Delalloy.
We're not going to call him a brand. We're going to call him a one guy.
He's an artisanal watchmaker based in Geneva. He's very, very Swiss, very Genevan. His first language is French.
Yep.
And when I first came across him back in 2006, he had just started making his own watch with his own movement, which was highly impressive. Again, back then I didn't really appreciate the level to which that skill set required.
Why not?
Because I didn't know. I just come across Peter Vianney, Marco Lang. I was learning. It was the beginning of this is almost 20 years ago. Knowing what I know today, I can appreciate so much more about these guys and how they're doing it.
Especially if he's a single guy, right? I mean, he's the one guy doing all the work, which we're seeing.
So what he was doing. So a bit of background on Nicholas. He worked for Patek for a long time and decided to go out on his own. And his first watch was called the Prestige, and it was a lovely. If you got a picture of the movement, we'll get there. So this is his latest model. Yeah, one back. I think.
There we go.
So this is his own movement. It's called the ND01, and it's a manual wind movement. And there's an awful lot of classical watchmaking, high-end watchmaking designs, aspects of it. The regulator, there's black polishing on the escape wheel bridge. Very
unusual finishing on the bridge.
Yeah.
I can't call it Geneva striping.
Well, it is. You know what it is? It's because of the light. It's the
way the light's catching, because it looks curvy.
No, it's Geneva striping.
Okay.
He's got screwed gold chatons, which we will get into that again in more detail another time. But these are the jewel bearings, and they're held on the plates with screwed chatons. So those were designed originally for pocket watches, so that if a jewel needed to be replaced, you didn't have to mess around with a plate. You just
undid the screws, put a new chaton in.
Yep.
And tell me about this symbol that's going on at 3 o'clock.
Well, that's so on the original watches almost 20 years ago. He had like a little disc with a logo on it. It was like ND. Yeah.
This thing here.
This one is to symbolize something else. I actually don't know what it is, but because this watch is called the Renaissance, as in this is him coming back. So when I knew him originally, he produced some watches in precious metal, small quantities, with a guilloche and in combination with a mother of pearl dial with applied numbers. This watch has an enamel dial. No surprise why I love it. But the movement has been upgraded a little bit. There's your enamel dial. This is a cream dial.
God, it's gorgeous.
Yeah, Roman numerals. It's what I love.
It's right in your wheelhouse, this piece. Yeah.
But this watch has a titanium case. Not titanium, tantalum case.
Tantalum.
Yeah.
Describe the difference.
They're different metals. They're different elements. Titanium is lightweight, very strong. Tantalum is a metal that's in the platinum.
That's titanium.
Yeah.
Right.
And so was my MIH watch.
Yep.
Tantalum is a metal that probably has been most famously used by F.P. Journe in the chronometer blue, which...
The dial is tantalum.
No, the case.
Oh, the case, okay.
The dial is enamel. So the case is tantalum. It's a heavy metal. It's in the platinum group. And it's regarded as a precious metal, but it's not as expensive as platinum.
So it's not noble like
I wouldn't call it noble, but it's a lovely metal. It's gorgeous. It's this deep gray color, and it's has got a heft to it, and some watchmakers like it, and Nicholas liked it, so he decided to use it. So difference here from the original watches. This is a complete enamel dial. He does not make the dial because again that's a skill set that he doesn't have, but he has a dial enamel dial maker in the canton of Geneva that makes this dial for him to his designs. You're able to get a cream dial, or you can get a black dial. And black
So one or the
dials,
other.
yeah, he makes the hands. That's the black. Black dials, to my understanding, are more difficult to produce than cream. Why that is, I don't. Nobody's really been able to tell me. I think it's just in the enamel powder. There's more imperfections that show up in black than in white, but it's lovely.
Can you tell me why? This is just a little bit off topic. But
Yeah.
Can you tell me why watchmakers don't understand that the Roman numeral for 4 is IV?
It's an aesthetic.
Is that what it is? Why? Because of balance and space?
Because look at number 8.
Yeah.
Which is right behind me in this picture, but it's 8 is is V with 3 ones.
They did that right.
Yeah, that's 5 with 3 ones, which adds up to 8. So if you put the 1 and the V, 1 before the V to denote the Roman 4, it would be narrower and it wouldn't balance out as well. So that's why watchmakers do that.
Bothered
Clockmakers.
It's bothered me.
No, I get it. And as I'm looking at the watches that I have, all the Roman watches that I have,
They're all that way. They're all, it's a tradition almost.
Yeah. So Nicholas has come out with this watch. There's going to be 28 pieces or 24 pieces of the series. He can make about 6 or 7 a year, and he makes the hands himself. I mean, I've seen.
And they're sold out? Do they sell out?
No, he hasn't sold them out. They're still available, but I believe the first year sold out.
If you like what you see, call this guy.
Yep. Yeah, I work with Nicholas and represented him for a long time. He went back to work for Patek in about 2009 during the crisis in the Swiss watch industry. It was very difficult. And so he went back to work for Patek. He actually worked in the restoration department in the museum, Patek Museum.
Oh, well, that's the way to learn everything. Really.
Yeah, so there you're looking at watches from 150, 200 years old, and you really, really fine-tune your skills and appreciation for what works and what doesn't work. And he did that for a long time, until about 2 years ago when he reached out to me and said, hey, I'm going to go back and start making my watches again. So I said, great, I'm here to help you, support you, whatever you need. And I went to visit him in Geneva last year and saw his workshop for the first time. Didn't see it years ago. And I've got an article on my website about that.
But you don't have one in stock?
I don't have one in stock, no.
Okay.
These are up there. They're 45,000 Swiss francs. So, and they're typically made to order. But it's a gorgeous,
it's stunning.
Finished watch.
I think I told you the other day, but I'm not sure you agreed with me. It seems like it's a Dirk Dornbluth sort of inspiration. Meaning, I'll just go by the fact that keep it simple, stupid. It's very straightforward.
Well, there's a lot of
time only, which I love.
Yeah, there's a lot of traditional aspects, and Nicholas, being Genevan,
he's French, whereas Dirk is German, strictly.
Yeah. Well,
okay.
he's Swiss, but he speaks French correctly.
You mean this guy?
Delalloy he's Swiss.
He's actually Swiss?
No, he's Swiss, very much so. Yeah, he's born and bred in Geneva, so he's
okay.
But he speaks French. His brother Christophe often does the translation because he was a pilot for EasyJet, so he has to speak English as a primary language because that's the international language of aviation. So when I first met him, Nicholas spoke very little English, and so Christophe would come, and he came out to California in 2007, and we did an event. And Christophe was there to help Nicholas communicate with collectors. But his English is better now, and he's a lovely guy. He's a real deal. On his bench, there's solid steel blocks that he basically cuts the rough shape of a hand out, and then he hand files it into the final shape.
Would that take him a month?
I don't think so. It's probably in the order of a week to make a hand.
Oh, God.
He also cuts out parts of the movement, the steel parts in the back. He cuts those out and then black polishes them himself in the workshop.
The work obviously speaks for itself. When you sent me this picture the other day, I was completely knocked out. So.
Yeah. It's this is real watchmaking.
What's going on right here? Just while we wrap it up.
So that's the steel spring. So that's the regulating spring for the balance wheel, and it's a sort of a swan neck, if you will. There's a cam over there in the end. That's how. So that cam there.
This cam on.
Yeah. So the cam is attached to the pointer, which is right here. I might get my finger right. Go up here.
Yeah.
No, I'm going the wrong way.
Yeah, it's hard to do.
Right there. So that's the fine regulator for the hairspring, the length of it, and then there's a spring that goes around the outside. I'm going down there, and that's where it's attached. So this is steel, black polished, and that's what he makes from scratch.
That's fantastic.
Yeah,
he's done a great job.
So yeah.
All right. Well, boy, we've talked about a lot of stuff today.
We have.
We've seen a lot of goodies today.
Hopefully, this is not sort of too much and not.
Well, listen, those of you watching, you decide to tune in or tune out, but I suggest you tune in. I suggest you hit that subscribe button. Keep hitting it. Subscribe 50 times. Get hold of Tim Jackson, independentintime.com. I'm Scott with Watch Geek Time.
Yep.
Any final words, my friend?
No, again, thanks everybody for watching and listening, and I hope this is providing some information that perhaps you didn't know about before.
Well, listen, independent watchmaking is watchmaking.
It really is. It really is. I've found it incredibly inspiring, and this is why I do what I do here. So, thank you, Scott.
My pleasure. Independentintime.com, Tim Jackson, Scott Goldman, Watch Geek Time. Yep. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next week.
Thanks, guys. Bye-bye.